All right, and we're live. Welcome everybody back to another weekly live stream here on the channel. See, we've already got some people that were already here. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I know we did take a week off or a weekend off last week, but anyways, so since we did take last weekend off, we are going to cover the last 2 weeks. We've had a lot that happened over the last 2 weeks in the cruise industry, so we've got a lot in store for today's video or today's live stream. So over the next, or I guess as people begin to come in, feel free to drop any questions in the chat. I'd love to answer them. But anyways, and if anybody is brand new to the channel watching the stream, if you want to stay up to date with all the latest cruise industry news, make sure you subscribe down below. But anyways, with that, let's go ahead and jump into it. So we'll start out with Odyssey of the Seas. So at the beginning, I guess about 2 weeks ago, she made her river conveyance and was pretty much tugged up the river over into, I guess, Bremerhaven, Germany, where she is going to start doing her sea trials. That was a very exciting milestone for that ship. Just everything about that shipyard when they do stuff like that, or like they do the river conveyance, it's always a lot of fun to watch just because it's such a very narrow river that they're taking these ships up. And with these ships being some of the largest ships in the world, it is absolutely amazing just to watch some of this stuff. But anyways, let's see. But besides, once she did make her way up the river, it's about a 10-hour journey. They have to go super slow just because, if they go any faster, they run the risk of, the ship hitting the bottom of the river. But it is a very, very cool journey up that river. And now that she is up there and she's docked in Bremerhaven, Germany, she is going to be doing her sea trials. And after that, she will be ready for her first passengers. And speaking of her first passengers, that river conveyance isn't her really only news for Odyssey of the Seas. We got the news last week that Odyssey of the Seas will be taking on passengers. He's going to be sailing out of Israel for Israeli citizens. The big thing that was up in the air with this sailing, or the Odyssey of the Seas sailing with vaccinated passengers, is whether or not vaccines are going to be required for future cruises. And let's see, but it looks like just for the purpose of Odyssey sailing out of Israel, it does seem like Israel so far is the only place that is requiring them to do vaccines. It looks like that was pretty much their way of getting the government of Israel to actually allow them to actually sail. Looks like we've got Charlie here in the chat. Hey Charlie, how's it going? Of course I remember you. But yeah, so lots of really exciting news with Odyssey of the Seas. She's again the 5th and final Quantum class ship, or the 2nd Quantum Ultra. She's basically identical to her sister Spectrum. Let's see. Ernesto says, Brandon, good night. Royal Caribbean, Florida, open 2021. Yeah, I'm hoping they can get some ships sailing out of Florida in 2021. I'm pretty optimistic about it. I think we'll see sailings, if not in the near future, within the coming months. But yeah, so Once Odyssey of the Seas gets ready to take on her sea trials, once those are completed, she's just got to do a series of tests, making sure that she is seaworthy and that all of the, all the machines and all the engines and all the propellers, everything about the ship, has to be running smoothly. And after that's all done, she's going to be handed over and she'll be ready to take on some passengers in Israel. It's going to be Israeli, like I said, Israeli citizens only. Just to kind of keep it I guess centered around a small group, because the Israeli population is almost 95% vaccinated at this point, so it does help that since they are doing vaccine only cruises, it's not like they're really leaving too many people out of it, which is always good. Charlie says all is good, hope you're all right. We're about to come out of lockdown here in the UK. Yeah, lots of exciting news, especially with cruising over in the UK. That's part of what we'll talk about in a little bit here, but lots of very positive news coming out of the UK, and I'm very glad to hear it. But yeah, with like I said, with the Odyssey of the Seas, I guess with everybody being for the most part vaccinated in Israel, then that's going to help them out a lot, especially with the purpose of, I guess, their international travel. I guess just couldn't think of the name for it for some reason. But international travel is just kind of tricky to do sometimes, especially right now, because we don't want to be taking a group from one country that there's always a possibility, but you never know that group can go from one country and go into another one, and then all of a sudden it spreads over there. So I see why international travel is kind of hard to do and hard to work around right now, but with the vaccine cruises, it is helping Odyssey of the Seas for sure. She looks like she's going to be doing Greek Isle cruises for a good bit, and no word how long she's going to be there. I know she's already had stuff laid out for them, or for the summer and everything like that, but she had to have a lot of canceled cruises just to make way for all of this, and depending on how successful it is and just the state of the industry, as things continue for Odyssey, we'll probably start to see, whether or not they'll cancel to make way for more Israel cruising, or whether or not she'll actually start going to her normal home ports or wherever she was actually scheduled to be. And I think that's going to be a normal. That's going to be a normal for a little bit, or at least the first few months, especially during these phased restarts, is that we're going to see 1 to 2 ships that are going to be in a home port. And, we may have some canceled cruises on them, but that's just because we're making way for the new cruises that are being put in place as part of this phased restart. I would say maybe the first couple months of us returning to cruising, we'd probably be seeing stuff like that. But after a few months, it'll start returning to normal. Ships will be going out of their normal home ports and stuff like that. And kind of like what we had with over in the UK with Princess and P&O, they had to cancel a whole lot of cruises, but those cruises that were canceled made way for new ones where they actually can sail. So that'll kind of transition to our next port. Our next part of the stream here, we of course did have P&O and Princess cruises cancel a whole lot of sailings through the whole summer, basically up until I think it was about September or through September. But basically what was going on there is they canceled all these cruises to make way for different cruises, which is nice because they're actually going to be sailing. They were pretty much paving the way for them to be sailing again. And I think the positive news to me, or at least the most intriguing thing to me, is that Princess is usually the ones that are canceled out the furthest. And so I think with having Princess starting to kind of get things going in other places, I think, I guess just having them being the ones that are usually canceled out the furthest, I think it's more of a positive note seeing a cruise line like them starting to go again. Alk61695 is he in the chat, says what's up. But yeah, anyways, so definitely things like this could be seen in the near future where we have some cancellations to make way for some future cruising out of different home ports and just different ships, depending on what the state of the industry is and I guess certain ports. We're not going to see cruising probably for a little bit, at least out of these first few, or at least through the first few months of the phased restart out of like secondary ports, maybe like New Orleans or so. But once we're a few months into it, ships are starting to go again. We'll start seeing ships start to gradually make their way back to their normal home ports, or ships returning to these other home ports that we see around the country and around the world. Let's see, we got Andrew in the chat. Good to see you. Good to see everybody. Looks like we've got quite a few people here already tuned in. But yeah, so I think over the next few months, as things start to get going again, we might see something similar to Princess and P&O kind of put in place, whether it's here in the U.S. or the same thing basically over in the UK or other places around the world. We might see some more cancellations just to kind of pave the way. Alex says, no bell today. No, my cat, she was just here. She is, I think she's on the counter. She's over there somewhere. But yeah, And it's very exciting news. And of course, we did hear recently that the UK government has given the green light for cruises over in the UK. Now, the interesting thing about these cruises that they are going to do with P&O and Princess is that they're basically cruises to nowhere. And if they do stop somewhere, it's going to be still within the UK. Looks like there's going to be British Isle cruises if they are stopping anywhere, or if they're anything more than a cruise to nowhere, basically. And I think that's going to be the trend that we start to see is domestic travel instead of international travel with cruise ships. It's a whole different ballgame when it comes to domestic travel here in the U.S. and cruising. But other places around the world, it makes it very easy. Of course, we've seen it very successful over in Italy with MSC and Costa and all those cruise lines over in Europe. Most of them are just circling Italy or just kind of going up and around the peninsula a lot. No issues, but staying within Italy is obviously made it a lot easier for them to pretty much, I guess, be allowed to go into some of these ports because it's not international travel. I know originally the MSC Magnifica was supposed to get going for MSC back when Grandiosa started sailing back in August. And I guess the issue with that is they had to push it back because there is more restrictions for the cruise lines going into Greece, because originally Magnifica was supposed to go from Italy to Greece and like the Greek Isles. But because there was a lot of issues with international travel at that point, it made it more, I guess, or it made it less appealing to passengers. And so not many people were booking the Magnifica because of the restrictions over in Greece. And so they ended up not sailing that ship for quite a while. Or I guess I don't think she ever really got back up and running, or at least not yet. Heidi, I hope I said that right. Heidi says, "Hello, what did you think about the fire on MSC Lyrica? Keep it or give it up?" So yeah, that's very interesting because it happened yesterday morning. I woke up yesterday and I had 10 messages on my phone and was like, "Dude, there's a ship on fire." I'm like, so that woke me up pretty quick. But the fire itself looked really bad on Lyrica. For those of you who didn't hear the news, we had MSC Lyrica had a pretty interesting fire yesterday morning off the coast of Corfu in Greece. But yeah, the ship looks pretty rough right now. Lots of fire damage from what I can see, especially in all the pictures that I can see of the ship. But from what I've been hearing, it's mostly, it looks worse than it is, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Is they say the ship looks a lot worse than it really is. They said minimal damage for the most part. Obviously, just a lot of I guess ash and everything just around the ship. Lots of black spread along the side of the ship just from all the fire, everything. But they said it's not quite as bad as it looked. But there was a few times where you could kind of see the fire almost spewing out the sides of the ship, which was kind of scary, honestly. It definitely looked very scary just watching it on YouTube. I was watching, or I guess on Facebook, somebody was live streaming it, and it was very crazy to watch. But I think from what I've been hearing, it's a lot better than it really looks. And so hopefully hopefully the ship's okay. I think Lyrica is still going to stay around. I don't think they're going to have to scrap the ship or anything like that. I don't think the damage was as extensive as people may think. But of course, they're still assessing the damage and all that. And of course, they're still doing an investigation. We got Alka in the chat here says, they said it was started in one of the lifeboats. Yeah, I heard it was a fuel. I think it was related to fuel. Maybe there's a fuel spill in one of the lifeboats. But yeah, it started in one of the lower decks on one of the lifeboats, which is pretty crazy. Dave, good to see you. Good to see you in the chat here. Good to see you in the stream. Says, "Hi, Brandon. Could you give us a nutshell bio on me? Very well informed. Are you in the industry? Are you a cruise fan only? This live broadcast is great. Thank you." Well, I very, very much appreciate it. I get asked a lot, and no, I'm not within the industry. I'm not affiliated with any of the cruise lines. That would, That actually would be one of like the coolest things ever to me if I ended up, with one of the cruise lines doing some sort of stuff like this. But my college degree is in finance, so I really don't know if making videos and stuff for cruise lines would be a good path for me. But I'm mostly just a cruise fan, just like the rest of you guys, and I just absolutely love doing this. I've been cruising since about 1998, which, I was about 2 years old at the time I think my first cruise was on Celebrity Century. And I grew up not only loving cruises, but I've always really kind of enjoyed making videos. And, some of the people that I watch on YouTube kind of inspired me to start making videos. And, I've tried different things here and there. And I think I kind of really stuck with cruising, or cruising is what actually I guess I gained some traction with, and, which I'm very glad, because that's one of my favorite things in the world is cruising. But yeah, overall, I'm just a cruise fan, just like the rest of you. Absolutely love this. Just, I do my research, that way I can get everything, keep all of you guys up to date with everything going on. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. So, Heidi says Lyrica is a 20-year-old ship. So yeah, I guess with the age of the ship factored in, I guess that's definitely a thing to consider. I thought she was a little bit newer than 20, but that's yeah. I guess it just depends on how bad the damage of Lyrica is. It's very crazy to see, but hopefully she gets to stay around. She's a nice ship. She looks like a nice ship, at least. It's always sad to see something catastrophic like that, or just some crazy event happen like that on a ship. It says, wow, my first cruise was 1998 on the Century out of Port Everglades. Yeah, I think that's I think that's where I went out of. I was almost too young to remember, to be honest, but the maitre d' that was on the ship, my parents always tell me about this, and we actually found a picture the other day, and the maitre d' on the Century, he would pick me up. Basically, I was 2, and he would pretty much carry me around the ship, and which is or not around the ship, but around the dining room, going to all the tables and checking in on people. So by the end of that cruise, I was famous on the ship, because everybody saw me every night at dinner, which is really funny. So my parents were telling me oh yeah, people would always stop in the elevator and be like, oh my gosh, it's Brandon, because this 2-year-old little kid that gets to go around to the tables every night, Very cool things. I wish I was old enough to remember that, but at the same time, it's a very cool thing. I think we got a couple pictures of it. That would be pretty funny if we were on the same cruise. But yeah, I think, I did my first cruise on the Century. After that, we were on some of the inaugurals for the 2 Disney ships. And then I think my 4th cruise was Jubilee, which is the, old retired Carnival ship that it was scrapped a couple years ago, which is very sad to see. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. Let's see. Brandon, do you know why Lifeboat became tender? So far, nobody can give me an answer. That's a good question. I never really thought about that. I think the main difference, tenders are normally this is, I guess, going out the top of my head and about the only thing I can really think of. But I think tenders are normally supplied by, or they go from the port into the ship, or to the ship, carrying passengers back and forth, if there is a port stop, where they have to do stuff, or where they have to I guess they can't dock, so they got to anchor off and, kind of bus people back and forth. So I guess that's technically tendering. And then the lifeboat is actually the true lifeboats that are on the side of the ships. But I know from time to time you'll see a ship that actually uses a lifeboat as a tender. So that's about the only thing I can really think of, but I feel like that's fairly accurate. I know tendering is mostly just taking people back and forth to and from the ports whenever the ships are anchored out offshore. Bryant says, my first cruise was on the Carnival Elation back in 2011. I think I was young. I've been on I was young. I've been on 7 cruises. Elation's a nice ship. She just received a refurbishment a couple years ago, or I guess 3 years ago. Got all sorts of like water slides and stuff like that. She's a very nice ship. She's one of the newer fantasy class ships as well. But I have not been on Elation though. I've been on some of her sister ships, but not Elation. That's very cool. Let's see. Doesn't Carnival call it water shuttle now? Yeah, there's like 100 different names for tendering and tender operations. Carnival calls it water shuttling, which is basically what tendering is. But yeah, there's about 100 different names. I've heard it called so many different things, but yeah, I think mainly the main distinction between lifeboats and like tendering is just the way they're used. Lifeboats can be tenders for certain purposes, but yeah, I always call it tenders too. Bryant says, I've been on Fantasy twice. That's really cool. It's always kind of interesting being on a ship that's now been scrapped. You have so many memories on those ships. I never had the chance to go on Fantasy. I always, living in Atlanta, I was so close to the Port of Mobile when she was there most recently. And I always want to just go on her just because she was the oldest and she's been around for so long. I just never got a chance to. And I think whenever Carnival first announced their phased restarts for the month of August last year, Fantasy was in there. And I was like, I think I might try to go on Fantasy or something. But just to kind of go, but just never happened. This is, what will they do with Mobile Cruise Port since the Fantasy is not there anymore? So what will happen is originally Fascination was supposed to take her place in 2022. So she was already going to leave Mobile anyways. They weren't really sure where the ship was going to go at that point. But instead of Fascination taking over because Fascination was sold to a Chinese hotel company, the Carnival Sensation will be the one that takes over for the Fantasy and Fascination over in Mobile. So you'll have Sensation. She's a great ship. She does have the balconies, so you are getting a small bit of an upgrade over in the Port of Mobile. She's a great ship. I've sailed on Sensation twice. And if you liked Fantasy and Elation, Sensation is going to be just as good, if not, better. She's got the good water slide. She's got all the upgrades, so she's going to be a good ship. She'll be a great fit in Mobile. Let's see. I was on the Celebrity Horizon, which is probably about to get scrapped. Yeah, I thought I saw Horizon was about to get scrapped. Celebrity Horizon. Carnival Horizon is still here and, very much alive. But Celebrity Horizon, she's a very, very old ship. I think she's a sister to either the Zenith or the Century. But, yeah, I think she was with Pullmantur, and because Pullmantur is now officially done, I think she's going to be scrapped, I believe. I don't know when or where, but I know she's on that list somewhere, I believe. Let's see. How many ships have I sailed on that are getting scrapped now? So, let's see. That's a good question. So, I've been on Jubilee, was scrapped back in 2016, 2017. So, I've been on Jubilee. I've been on... Let's see. I've been on the Imagination, which is currently at the scrapyard, and that might be it. I think just those two that I can think of, at least. Both Carnival ships, I would say. I guess Zenith too. Celebrity Zenith. I think she's not quite at the scrapyard yet, but I think she's on her way because she was with Pullmantur. So. I think just those three, I believe. That's a good question. I might have to look into that. But all of the old Carnival ships, I think Fascination is now the only Carnival ship that's still around after, I guess, in the secondary market after leaving Carnival, because the original 3 were scrapped long, long ago. Jubilee was scrapped a few years ago, and then now because of the pandemic, we saw pretty much the entire holiday class was gone. Tropical unfortunately is gone. Or she's at the scrapyard now. And then, of course, we have the Fantasy, Imagination, Inspiration. are all scrapped, and then the Fascination's the only one that really made it out alive, quote unquote. That's not been scrapped so far. Let's see. Horizon was a sister to the Zenith. Century's sister ships to the Galaxy and the Mercury. That's right. I remember that. All great ships. For some reason, I haven't been on Celebrity in a very long time. Oddly enough, the last Celebrity cruise I was on was the Zenith, which I don't even know. I think I was in maybe second grade, so I was a very little guy at that time, and she was a very old ship at the time, so very interesting. Let's see. Dave says, I was on the Pullmantur, Horizon, Zenith, and Monarch, which was the best. That's really cool. Yeah, Zenith. I was on Zenith with Celebrity, and Zenith was a nice ship. My funny story about the Zenith. So I went on that cruise. I guess I was probably, like I said, it was about second grade for me. So I had to have been about 8, maybe 9 years old at the time. And I guess my funny story about this cruise is my friend and I that I went on the cruise with. My parents hate this story because but we went to the game room or like the little arcade, and there's like this game that would give you a bouncy ball if you hit like a certain score. And so my friend and I, not really thinking of anything, we just kept swiping our little cards, and I think my friend and I racked up like $120 each in the game room within that one like span of like 2 hours, and my parents were not happy. But I think I brought home, because we got a bouncy ball if you got that score or whatever. I think I brought home 60, 70 something bouncy balls from that cruise. Like, I almost filled up a whole suitcase with those things. It was insane. And like, my family has moved several times over the years, and we still manage to find bouncy balls just around the house. It is insane. Like, we'll find them in our drawers. We'll find them under a bed. We'll just like find them in the most odd places. Like, they're not just like thrown around the house, but at the same time, like, if we're ever looking for something, we'll probably find one somewhere. It's just crazy how many of those I brought home for no reason. But luckily, the people at guest services on the Zenith were very nice, and my parents pretty much explained, like, they didn't know what they were doing. They racked up a whole bunch of money in the arcade collecting bouncy balls. And so they ended up crediting the money. So, thankfully my parents weren't out of money or anything like that. But it's a very funny story. Sorry. But, yeah, that was a really funny story from the Zenith. Let's see. I've been on the Carnival Dream, Glory, Valor, Elation, Fantasy twice, and then the Brilliance of the Seas. That's awesome. I was on the Dream twice, the Glory 3 times, and I've been on the Valor. So yeah, those are all really great ships. Dream was really cool the second time because I was out of New Orleans, so very big ship, and Port of New Orleans is really cool. But those are all really great ships. I love the Conquest class from Carnival. Glory, yeah, I've been on Glory like 3 times. Valor, I did like an 8-day cruise on. They're all very, very nice ships. Let's see. I sailed on Celebrity Horizon out of New York pre 9/11, so I got to see the towers sailing down the Hudson. That's really, really cool. That's one of those memories that, like, now that those are gone, you'll never forget that, which is really interesting. Bryant says, "What is the best excursion I have ever been on?" Oh, that's a tough one. Let's see. The most memorable, I would say, I was on Costa Magica. I probably about 11 or 12 years old at the time. But I would say the Costa Magica, I was in Cozumel. We did a Jeep excursion. So like all the like off-road Jeep Wranglers and stuff like that. We pretty much all like did like the excursion, like convoyed through. We did like some off-roading trails and stuff like that. The cool thing was that it had rained before in Cozumel, or like the day before it had rained. And so some of these like little trails that they were taking us on were kind of muddy and like kind of like all the sand and all that stuff. And so everybody, kind of like slowly going through these through these trails, like all through all the mud and stuff like that. And then my dad was the one driving for us, and it was funny because like my dad would kind of like slow down, and we'd just nail it through those the mud puddles and stuff like that. Our entire Jeep was like covered in like mud and all sorts of like dirt and stuff like that. It was really funny because like we got there, and like the guy like leading the tour was like, "You guys had fun, didn't you?" And we looked back, and like you could see the outline of like where we were sitting in the seats, just because of how like much dirt has just been flung everywhere. It was a lot of fun. It was really cool. But that was probably the most memorable, most fun that I've done. There's always, I would say, what else is there? I did like an ATV excursion, which was similar to that in Costa Maya one time. I was old enough to drive at that time, so I remember like I was slinging that ATV like sideways through the sand and stuff like that, which was really fun. I guess I love cars and stuff like that, and love driving, so I guess ATV, anything that involves driving has just always been fun to me. Let's see. What else we got here? I did that too in the arcade on the Carnival Legend. Just kept swiping my card. Yeah, my parents were not. My parents were not happy with me whenever I did that. Let's see. The Traveler says, "Hey Brandon, just wondering if you have any info on Disney Wish." I wish I did, but I have a funny story. I think I've said this in a previous live stream before, but I did the Disney College program a couple years ago, and my roommate, actually, that I was living with during that program, he actually went back to Disney and was doing a professional internship there with their engineering and Imagineering team. He actually got to work on the Triton class, or the Disney Wish, basically. So he actually got to like help do some of the design work on that ship, which was really cool. But unfortunately, he's not able to give me any of that information. But I know she is under construction, and I believe so right now in the Meyerwerft shipyard in Germany, the Odyssey of the Seas just went out. So all of the blocks just went in for the Aida Cosma, which is the second of the large XL class ships that are going to be similar to like Costa Smeralda, Mardi Gras, all that. After the Cosma comes out, the Wish will be right after that. So we'll probably start seeing some of the blocks start to kind of come together for the Disney Wish very soon. Construction's been going on that ship for quite a while now. But I think she was delayed to a summer of 2022, I believe. But we'll start seeing more and more information coming on that shortly. But we'll start seeing more pictures now that she's going to start going vertical with her construction and having more, more pictures than just a pile of metal, basically. Let's see. Bryant says, "I was on the Dream, and we went on to Grand Cayman. We got to swim with stingrays. Then our last cruise on the Glory went to Belize and went cave tubing. Both shore excursions were my top two." Cave tubing sounds like a lot of fun. I'm not a fan of stingrays, but the cave tubing sounds like a lot of fun. I don't think you could pay my mother all the money in the world for her to go on an excursion like that through caves. But it sounds like a really, really cool thing. I may have to try that sometime. But that sounds like a lot of fun. I don't think I ever really do much when I go to Belize. Last time I was in Belize, I guess, was Harvest Key on the Norwegian Getaway. Harvest Key is the Norwegian private island, basically. That place is a whole lot of fun, amazing area, and I would honestly if I was going on Norwegian, I would almost make sure the ship is going to Harvest Key just because I want to go back so bad. Let's see. I got to swim with dolphins in Tortola. That was fun. Yeah, that does sound like a lot of fun. I've never done swimming with dolphins. I've gotten to watch they do stuff like that in Costa Maya where it's right on the water, so everybody can see it. So it looks really cool. I've never been to Tortola either. That's one of the few places I've not been in the Caribbean. Let's see. Bryant also says, "We have a cruise booked on the Carnival Mardi Gras. Do you think we'll be able to go?" I think we are still booked. Do you know when you're going? I know as of right now, she's going to make her maiden voyage on I think it was the 5th of June. But, that's always up in the air. Depending on when your cruise is, if it's probably closer to the fall, I would probably say you're more than likely able to go. I think the fall definitely is more of a realistic time frame at this point. I would say maybe August or so. July, as of right now, yes, you'd be able to go. July sounds like you might get some of the first bit of cruising if we do get some cruising by the summer here in the U.S. But I would say the chances are good. But yeah, I was supposed to be on Mardi Gras back in Thanksgiving, and then the ship got delayed because of COVID and all that, so I didn't get to go. But of course, everything last year was just complete trash. But yeah, I think I would say chances are good. I probably wouldn't guarantee it, but I think chances are good that you'd go on Mardi Gras over the summer, especially late July. I think that's a good time. You might get the first bit of cruising, which would be really cool, but yeah. All right, so let's see. What do we got here? Let's jump back into some of our cruise news over the last few weeks. We'll start transitioning over into Royal Caribbean. Had a lot of their sailings for the winter season of 2022, early 2023. We got a lot of really cool stuff. The entire Freedom class is going to be in the state of Florida. We're going to have Freedom of the Seas in Miami. Fort Lauderdale is going to have Liberty of the Seas, and then Independence is supposed to be in Port Canaveral. So that's a lot of fun. I think those ships are going to be great for the state of Florida. This is the first time all three of those ships have been in Florida. I was on Freedom when she was brand new. She is a very, very nice ship, especially now that she's got all her upgrades. I was hoping to go on Independence out of Port Canaveral soon, so maybe I can work something out with that. Bryant also says, what is the biggest ship I have seen at a port with me? While I'm on the ship, I would say, I guess Allure. I'm trying to see. I guess actually, I was in Miami with Symphony, so I guess that's technically. But Symphony is the largest ship in the world right now, and I've seen her several times. Symphony is an absolute giant of a ship. I mean, the entire Oasis class is just always really cool to see, and whenever you're in port. I've seen, oddly enough, as much ship spotting as I do and stuff like that, I've never seen Harmony of the Seas in person before. I've seen, Allure a couple times. I've seen Oasis a couple times, Symphony a couple times, but for some reason, I've never just lined up and wound up in a port with Harmony before, which is very strange because she's been out for a couple years now. Other ships, let's say some of the other cool ships I've been in port with, I was in Miami with Seaside, I think once or twice. The Norwegian Encore. I saw the Norwegian Joy the first time she was over in Miami. I flew down in the middle of October during school and all that just to go see the ship because she was in Miami finally. But yeah, I've seen quite a few ships, but the biggest so far is Symphony, which she's the largest in the world until Wonder comes out later, I guess next year. But the Oasis class are always just really cool ships to see. The biggest, Bryant says, the biggest I've seen was Harmony and Cozumel. That's really cool. Yeah, so pretty much just like Symphony. But, I'm kind of jealous that you've seen Harmony before. I have still never seen her in person. But let's see. We've got the Mariner of the Seas is a great ship. I've seen her in Miami a couple of times. For some reason, she's been in Port Canaveral for a little bit and never seen her sail out of Port Canaveral yet. But she's going to be staying in Port Canaveral for the 2022-2023 time frame. But instead, because Independence is going to do the 3 and 4 night cruises that Mariner does right now, the Mariner is going to switch to 4 and 5 day cruises, Western Caribbean. She's likely going to go to places like Coco Cay and then over to Cozumel and stuff like that. But great ship. My parents did go on the 3 day on that ship in last October. I think it was last October, All right, not last October, but I guess 2019. The last October we were cruising basically. But yeah, I got a little bit of footage of the ship on the channel with that. That was pretty much the last like bit of cruising, like actual cruise content that I've got on the channel besides like cruise news and stuff like that. But Mariner is a very nice ship. We also have the Adventure, which is a sister ship to Mariner. She's going to go over to Galveston along with Grandeur of the Seas. That's kind of Grandeur of the Seas going to Galveston is kind of our update to let you know, like, because originally Grandeur was supposed to go off to Pullmantur, and when they filed bankruptcy, she ended up staying with Royal Caribbean. And so everybody's like, well, what's she going to do? Is she just going to stay where she's at? Because Enchantment was already supposed to go up there, so everybody kind of wondered where she was going to go. So it looks like, I think she's supposed to do some time in Barbados, and she's going to then make her way up to do short sailings out of Galveston in 2022, 2023. So very good to see she's kind of sticking around a little bit. Thankfully, she wasn't part of the list of scrap ships and everything like that. Tampa's going to have a loaded year in 2022, 2023. They're going to have the Brilliance and the Rhapsody doing short sailings 4 and 5 nights. And then the Serenade is going to do, I think, between 6 to 10 nights. So I think they're going to throw the 10 nights are going to throw in some Panama Canal transits, so like partial transits, which is really cool. But yeah, 3 ships for Royal Caribbean alone in Tampa, which is really, really cool. And obviously we're going to have the Carnival ships. The Paradise likely is going to stay there in Tampa. The Pride is supposed to stay in Tampa for a little bit at least. And then, I think there's usually Holland America. I know MSC has been trying to get a ship in there, and I think I think it was the Constellation from Celebrity was supposed to go into Tampa. I think it was this year or last year. But lots of ships coming into the Port of Tampa, which is really, really cool. Let's see. We'll check on the chat here. I remember the first time seeing the Oasis in person. I saw her sailing out of Port Everglades. I thought she was one of the buildings next to the inlet. She was so big. Yeah, it's crazy because like whenever I would go ship spotting in Port Canaveral, I'd see the Oasis there, and the one time I did see Symphony there. I mean, you come over the bridges off the highway there, like you're topping the bridge, and like you see pretty much like flat ground because it's fairly flat in Florida, especially near the coast like that. But then like you see all these very low buildings, and all of a sudden you see the Symphony or the Oasis that are just like towering over everything in that area, which is really cool. Those things are absolute monsters. I mean, everybody, whenever I like take people ship spotting with me, or, people see like a cruise ship and they're like, wow, this is like absolutely crazy. Oh, it's, I always kind of like, oh yeah, I guess like it's pretty big. And then, but like to me, it's the Oasis class will always have that impression on me. I'm just always like, wow, that's just an amazing ship. Doesn't matter what the scenario is, any Oasis class is just going to catch me like, wow. Let's see. Dave says, my favorite excursion was in Belize. It was a great combination of the Mayan ruin, a bus ride tour, lunch at Horse Ranch at regular price, or Horse Ranch regular place. That's really cool. I've never done the Mayan ruins and stuff like that. I've been to Cozumel and Belize quite a bit, but I've just never done a tour like that. So that's really cool. The Speedboat tour in Belize, the old Belize River with the rainforest, monkeys, iguanas, etc., plus open ocean speedboat. What a blast. That sounds like a lot of fun. Actually, another one of, back to Bryant's question earlier, what my favorite excursion is, Cozumel also has the thing called the Twister boat. It's like a twister boat, or I guess a really, really fast speedboat thing just flies across the water. But, the whole twister aspect of it, you'll get out to this really calm, open area of the water before you get to the island, or like the beach where the island is, or the island where the beach is. I guess I'm confused there. You get to this really open area, and I think the boat, is, I don't know how fast it goes, but it's a very fast boat. But in this open area, we'll get about pretty much almost up to full speed, and then the guy will start turning around like, hey. And then all of a sudden, it pretty much is like, hold on to the harness you got on, because like they just whip it, and they'll spin that boat, I mean, almost a full 360 in the middle of the water at like almost full speed. It is so much fun. It's just so cool. You get soaked, and yeah, it's a really fun excursion. I've done that quite a few times. Let's see. Alex says, any word on Empress and Majesty? Empress was sold to a Indian cruise line, I believe, a cruise line over in India. I don't know. I think she's already like been transferred over and everything. I don't know exactly what her new name is or anything like that. As far as Majesty, I believe she was sold to Sea Jets. I don't think that was confirmed, but she is hanging out with a lot of the new ships that were recently acquired by Sea Jets. She's currently sitting over in Greece for a while. But yeah, I'm not too sure about Majesty, though. I mean, I think we can all kind of assume that she's going to go to Sea Jets. They bought a lot of old ships over the last year, but I guess that's never really been confirmed yet. What ships are going to be out of New Orleans? So New Orleans is going to have the Norwegian Breakaway for a good bit, which is like one of the largest ships to ever sail out of there. Norwegian Breakaway is a great ship. The Carnival Dream is supposed to be sailing out of there, I think she was over in Galveston. I think it was the Carnival Glory and the Carnival Valor were the two ships out of New Orleans at the time. Both are great ships, and I don't know I think maybe Royal Caribbean has like one or two ships out of there. I know they usually put like a seasonal ship there, maybe like a Radiance class, but I'm not too sure what's going to be over there for Royal Caribbean for a good bit. What's the height restrictions of Tampa? I would say anything bigger than one of the Dawn or Jewel class ships from Norwegian Cruise Line, because those are pretty much the biggest ships that can get in there. Anything bigger than that, you're going to start hitting that bridge, which is never fun. You know, that bridge has already been taken out once. So, but yeah, it's usually like the smaller 80 to 90,000 ton ships are usually the largest ones to go in there. But yeah, it's very unfortunate that they can't get a good ship or a big ship in there. But I've heard they've been trying to put maybe a part of the port out there. But who knows? But yeah, it's very sad it's a really big bridge and it's a really impressive bridge. But like, it's kind of sad that you can't get a big ship in there, because I think the big mega ships would do great over in Tampa if they had them. Let's see. Travel with Nick says, hey, Brandon, I wonder what Allure will look like docked in Galveston. Even Carnival Vista there looks like a building from the causeway. Yeah, she's going to pretty much tower over absolutely everything. Doesn't really matter what port she's in. Allure and all the other Oasis ships just kind of like dwarf everything that's around the ship. But yeah, she's going to look great there. Actually, this is kind of like a funny thing I noticed is like in the news article or whatever that they posted, it showed where Royal Caribbean's pier is going to go, or their new dock. And then next to it, or like just before it, it said possible future Terminal 4. And there's an MSC ship there, which I don't really know. I'm not saying MSC is going to Galveston, but by the looks of that render, it made it look like MSC may have plans to go there, but who knows? That's just something I kind of noticed, but I wouldn't look too far into it until they say something. Let's see, as well as the Spirit class for Carnival, I guess the funnel of the Freedom class is too small. Yeah. Or too big, yeah. Because the Freedom class is just really tall, or the funnels on the Freedom, or like the Conquest Freedom, all those ships, those are just really, just really tall funnels, I guess. Koopa says, when can we expect cruise vlogs? Hopefully as soon as cruises start returning to service again. Hopefully I can get on there as soon as possible, whenever these start going up or start sailing again, hopefully in the near future. Hopefully, I want to say maybe sometime this year, hopefully. I was looking at Freedom of the Seas in December, but for some reason, I just want to wait until the cruise lines actually return to service first before I start booking stuff. But yeah, hopefully by the end of the year, I want to be on some of the first few sailings, hopefully. Let's see. I know I've said it before, but I can't wait for Oasis to go under the Verrazano Bridge. Yeah, that's a very big bridge, and the fact that it's still going to be a close call for Oasis is going to be really crazy to see. I wish I could go up there and ship spot in New York to see that, but I think that might be a little too far of a trip. Let's see. Travel with Nick says, do you think Carnival will send an Excellence class ship to the port of Galveston to compete with the Oasis class? I would say yes. At some point, yes. That was I think maybe if they ever had a third one, I think there was an option in their order or that contract where they ordered those ships. I think it'd be possible that we see a third Excellence class from Carnival, probably within the next couple of years though. But I would say at some point, yes, we will see one of the ships over there, but probably not anytime soon. Let's see. Dave says, have you ever experienced a cruise director that was so far and above the average that you were amazed and you want to tell everybody about that person? I think a lot of people will agree with me on this one, but Matt Mitchum with Carnival Cruise Line, he is always, he was like the face of Carnival at one point. He recently left over the course of the shutdowns and everything, but I have sailed with Matt, I think 5 or 6 times. There's a point, or I think a lot of times people will like book cruises just to sail with him. He was a really, really good cruise director. And he's just always a lot of fun. He throws some of the best deck parties and stuff like that. I had one of the newer cruise directors from Carnival. His name was Cookie, and I think he was just an activity host. Whenever I sailed with him, he was on the Vista with Matt, and when the Vista was brand new, and so those two were just a great combination to have together to begin with. But Cookie is just a very, very funny dude, and he always has a good time. Actually, the memory I have with Cookie whenever I was on the Vista is that, so during like the good morning shows on the ship, one morning my family was like, hey, let's go watch like the good morning show, but we're gonna sit like up one level, that way we're just kind of towards the back, we can kind of dip out if we need to. But we walked in, we sat down, and Cookie, and like at the moment we sat down, he like locked eyes on my entire family and was like, the show's down here. And he like got up out of his seat, left the stage, walked up to us and walked us down to the bottom level, which is really funny. And he held my grandma's hand, like walked us all down the stairs. And my dad jokingly was like, does this mean we get a free cruise that we're following you? And he goes, yeah, I got you. And then we sit in our seat, and my dad's like, so where's the free cruise, huh? And he comes out with one of the little plastic ships on a stick, which is really, really funny. So, yeah, Cookie's a really funny cruise director, and he's a really cool guy. Let's see. Do you know if Carnival Mardi Gras first sailing will be pushed to June 5th or later than June 5th? So if the pause of operations go any further, then yes, because I think as of right now, Carnival is going to set sail on June 1st. But I would say definitely Mardi Gras might be one of their first ones now. I think whenever she was first starting to be delivered, or like right after delivery, I think they were going to try to get Horizon up first. But I think now that they've had Mardi Gras for a few months, I think she's definitely going to be, Mardi Gras is definitely going to be one of the first to set sail. Whenever that may be, who knows? But I would say whenever they do get going, I think she's going to be the first one. Hopefully June 5th. If not, maybe early July. But we'll have to see. Heidi says, I wish New York will have the test cruise star sailing at June. And Alex says, do you ever have John Held as a cruise director? I did have John Held as a cruise director. I was on the inaugural for Carnival Glory back in 2004, and John Held was the cruise director back then. I was super, super young, so I really don't remember a whole lot of it. But I did have him as a cruise director before. He's a very, very funny guy. Dave says, Jamie D was an out-of-body experience for me, coming from a former tour bus driver and escort who did similar group animating. Yeah. Jamie D, I had her on the Sunshine. She was a very good cruise director. I think she left Carnival a couple years ago, but yeah, she was a great cruise director. She was always on some of the newer ships. Yeah, she was a good cruise director. Let's see. Best cruise director I had was Richard Spacey on Royal Caribbean Explorer of the Seas. I'd never had Richard. I haven't really sailed on Royal Caribbean too much, but I don't think I've ever really remembered the names of a cruise director on anything besides Carnival. I think I had Simon the cruise director on the Bliss, but I was on the ship for 15 days, so pretty much like, hey, this is Simon, your cruise director. For 15 days in a row, you're gonna remember his name. But I really don't remember too much special, like anything special about that cruise director at least. Cruise directors I like is Lee and Dustin. Dustin was the Glory when I went in July 2019, and Lee on the Dream in 2018. Lee is a great cruise director. I haven't sailed with him, but I've been wanting to for a very long time. Yeah, I hear a lot of things. I follow him on all his social media and stuff like that. He's a really cool guy. But I would love to sail with Lee sometime. I think he's starting to make his way to the newer ships too, which is always a good sign. Usually they put the better cruise directors on the new ships. So, yeah, I hope to sail with Lee soon. Cruz says, do you know if Carnival is making another XL class ship? I think so. From what I've seen, it looks like there was an option whenever they ordered the Mardi Gras and the Celebration. There was an option for a third one for Carnival, and I don't know if they've exercised that option in their contract yet. But that's on the table. But I don't think they've announced or confirmed anything like that. If we did see another XL class ship, I would say maybe 2024, 2025. A couple of years down the road, but I don't know if there will be a third one or not. But I think that's, given the pandemic, I would say I'm more on the fence. But pre-pandemic, I was almost able to guarantee that there would be a third one, but I'm not 100% sure anymore. But I would love to see a third one though. That'd be really good to see. Maybe they'll continue on with that retro, the retro names with Mardi Gras Celebration. Maybe they'll do the Tropical or the Carnival or something like that. But I would love to see that. Have I ever been on a John Held Vlogger cruise? No, I have not. I would love to though. It'd be really cool. He's always on something. I feel like he just used to live on the ships for a while there. But really, really cool. I would like to. I feel like it'd be really funny for the vlogs and really cool for the vlogs to have John on there for sure. Richard Spacey was the one top cruise directors of Royal. He left and went to Celebrity and is now retired. He definitely stood out as the best I had. That's really cool. That's really cool how Royal Caribbean and I guess Royal Caribbean owns Celebrity, but sometimes you'll see people move between the lines, which is really cool. Travel with Nick says, my favorite cruise directors are Orlando Magic, which is Tristan Barrett, and Mike Pack. They're both outstanding. Yeah, Mike was a really cool guy. I had Mike on the Horizon whenever I sailed last year, or not last year, but 2019, I guess. That's hard to believe that was 2 years ago, but yeah, I had Mike Pack. He was a really great cruise director. He's definitely one of my favorites too. He was a very great guy. I think he ended up marrying Emma, which was one of the cruise directors from Carnival. Emma Nixon, I think, was now Emma Pack. But she was the one that she got put on the inaugural Horizon, or the inaugural for Panorama. But I think she recently left over the course of the shutdowns too. So I don't know if Mike is going to return to the ships or not, but I hope he does, because he's a very good cruise director. But yeah, let's see. we will go. We are coming up on an hour, so we'll go on one last topic, and we'll call it a night. Before we go, we did have the name of the third of four. I'm sorry, I just completely lost my train of thought. We got the name of the third of four Virgin Voyages ships. We have the name of the third one. We have the Resilient Lady, which I feel like is a very fitting name after given the current situation and everything. Resilient Lady is the third ship in the Virgin Voyages fleet. Of course, we have not had the first passenger even step on Scarlet Lady yet. So that's very interesting and, again, very poorly timed, but, I don't think they really planned on any of this happening. But, yeah, I can't wait for Scarlet Lady to start sailing again or start sailing for the first time. I think it's a very interesting ship that I want to see sail just to see what people's initial reaction are. I think the only thing is, it's so different, so I'm just curious to see how people are going to react to the ship. But Resilient Lady is going to be sailing out of Athens, Greece, to the Greek Isles. She's going to be doing Greek Isle cruises, and she's going to set sail in 2022. So we'll do a couple more questions, and we were going to wrap it up. So let's see. I had Corey Rogers on the Carnival Liberty. I think he's in Royal now. I think I've heard that name before. I want to say he was on the Breeze at one point, maybe. But yeah, I had Coco on the Liberty whenever I sailed with Justin. But she was a good cruise director. I feel like I've heard of Corey Rogers before. Maybe I had a friend that had him before. But yeah, Alk says they better fix the pools on the Virgin ships. Yeah, the pools on that ship are just absolutely tiny. I know it's an adults only cruise, so not a lot of people are going to be in the pools, but it's still got to have a pool on a ship for people to use, and it's just a very, very small ship. I keep saying ship instead of pool, but it's a very small pool for a cruise ship for sure. Andrew says, do you cruise with Josh and Sharon at Sea and other YouTube vloggers on the breakaway group cruise in 2023? I didn't. I haven't heard about that, but yeah, I am familiar with Josh and Sharon at Sea and all them, but I did not know there was a group cruise. I don't really speak with all of them too much, but that's very cool. That'd be a fun cruise though, especially with a lot of vloggers like that. Dave says, "Thank you, Brandon. Looking forward to the next live stream." Yes, hope to see you guys next week. Of course, if you guys want to continue chatting about cruise ships, I do have my second channel that's, it's more focused towards gaming, which is, kind of a lot different than cruising. But I think last week I had a couple of you guys that were in that, watched that live stream, and, we sat and I think I played Splatoon 2 for the Nintendo Switch. And, I just sat and talked about cruise ships for you guys for an hour or two last night, or the last time I streamed. So if you guys want to keep talking about cruise ships, make sure 7 o'clock tomorrow night. The link is in the description, and there should be a comment later on with the link to that channel. So hopefully to see you guys tomorrow night. And again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's live stream. Every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time, you can catch us right here talking about everything that went on during the week in the cruise industry. So thanks guys for watching, and hope to see some of you guys tomorrow night in our other channel for our live stream. So yeah, see you next time. See you next week.